Well, good afternoon, everybody, and well, it is a bit of a wet and blustery day in Taranaki today. It's yeah, like I say, the rain is out. It's starting to get a little bit chilly. How you going, Ryan?
Yeah, wow, you've summed that up nicely, that's for sure. The rain's here, it's bucketing down, really, isn't it? I was meant to have photos done today for a property, so that's got the what's up. But yeah, it feels like winter might have finally arrived there, mate.
But it's a great day to be inside and to have a bit of a chat online, and really looking forward to this one today. We have we've got Paul Rangiwahia to join us, and Paul, we're bringing you in here, mate. Thank you so much for actually coming out and joining us on the live stream and having a chat.
Oh, it's nice to be here, and it's something I always enjoy doing is talking about how we feel. It's something it's important to all of us.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought it could be a good start just for the people. You know, you're really well known. People would have most likely seen some of your artwork or seen you speak. Obviously, you speak at a lot of different venues and community groups and schools and businesses. But for the people that don't quite know much about you, Paul, just a bit of an intro about yourself and kind of what you do.
Sure. So I'm a wellbeing advocate. I guess I consider myself a thought leader in the fact that a lot of what I'm trying to do with my work around mental health and wellness is getting a whole lot of different ways at approaching mental health. So I use art. I find art's a great way to soften the edges, of a topic that can be a little bit like that. And for me, one thing I realised very quickly when I fell into the wellness area and mental health was we're terrible at getting conversations started. So with my artwork and what I do, my key driver is to start conversations, because I think if we can get people talking, we've got a better chance at getting to the things that are holding people back from realising their potential.
So true. And so why for you, why mental health? Why is that kind of the focus for you?
Yeah, so for me, I went through, a good part of my life, 40 something years of I was a real people pleaser. I was trying to fit in and do the right thing. And what I found is that I wasn't doing what I loved, so all my results and what I was getting was a reflection of what I was doing. I was doing things for the wrong reason, really. So it sort of culminated when I was involved as a co-director in a company, and that company went bust. And so I had to start again. So for me, I was an emotional wreck. And like I just said, I needed to start following, the dreams that I had for myself, or the way I saw the world, and what really got me excited and motivated. And that was, communicating, really. And I was fortunate enough to be able to do art. I created the Warren of Fitness, which people may have seen outside the library. And really, for me, that was that moment, that surreal moment when the universe was saying, like, you're pretty thick. We've been telling you for a long time. We've been giving you a lot of signs, a lot of messages that you're on the wrong path. Here's the opportunity to do what you can do to fulfill your potential. So I've done that, and I've made many posts in winter. I've managed to create my own business and passive income through my artwork, and obviously create a lot of active opportunities where I can get out and talk to people. I can be involved in starting new projects, and for that I feel very blessed, and I know I'm in the right place. So it's quite I guess authentic for me when I talk to people. I can say, hey, well, I understand why you're feeling like that right now, because I've had experiences in my life, and the bankruptcy was one experience, but I've had many other experiences. So I think that for me, the reason I have had a good result in many areas is because I try to be real, and I just try to keep it as simple as possible,
Yeah, it's cool. I really like that. And I think Ryan, you could probably relate to, obviously you've got quite an arty household as well.
Yeah.
So it might be similar for you and your household.
Yeah, definitely. I think I've had instructions just come through on a text message to ask Paul how we can get a print of the Warrant of Fitness as well from my wife, saying, please ask him. Yeah, look, and it's exactly right. I really liked how you use that idea of art being there to soften the edges, because I think the work that you've done and the one that's, I think, sitting behind your head right now is such a fantastic way of doing that, and it has been something for our family and the kids as well, where art's a really good way to get across how you're feeling about something. I'm terrible at it, but I certainly, really like that as a medium, and think it's a fantastic way to start what I still feel is a real difficult conversation, particularly as a male, and particularly as a male in business, to have with people around you.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, Paul, why is that? Why is it for, and for business owners and for men, why is it got that kind of stigma that people don't talk?
Yeah, I think, we always have to work out why we are like we are, and that's because we, culturally have had some major influences, and I think that's good to put into context. Young country with a very conservative, British influence, and then in that short history, we've been through a number of, challenges as we have built a nation. So, we've been through world wars and depressions and all the challenges. And during those times, we never really talked about things. And if you could imagine coming back from things like war, seeing all those horrific things and not talking about it, that's got to mess you up. So the people who experienced those things, they became leaders in commerce and education and health. So we weren't talking about things at home. We're shoving them under the carpet and putting them in the closet. And we certainly weren't talking about them at work. And therefore, culturally, that sort of blueprint was set. And a great example of that is I was at a talk, and I had someone come up to me and they said, hey, look, Paul, I was involved from the recovery unit for the Erebus disaster. So they went and recovered those bodies. And what happened when they came back was great. They were offered counselling, and this was very new at that time. So this person took it up, and it was great for them because they could really share, how they were feeling emotionally. There would have been some pretty dark places you would have potentially gone to. And so it was really great. But what she said is when she went for that next promotion, there was a black mark against her name saying that she was weak. So in terms of, a bureaucracy, no one was ever going to ask for help because it would be used against you in the future. So, I think it's good to understand that culturally we have this blueprint. So obviously now that's changing, and what we're realizing is that it's actually holding us back in many respects, that lack of vulnerability and talking about how we feel. I mean, come on, we've all got challenges, we've all got relationships that sometimes come into conflict. We lose people we love. We lose jobs, we lose opportunities, whatever. There's always something for everyone. Our experiences are so different, but so similar in many respects. So for me, it was really frustrating watching from the sidelines that, we've been trying to crack away at this egg. And I don't have all the answers, but what I do know is that if we can get conversations started and we can talk like we are today, saying, hey, you know what? It's actually okay that you haven't got it all figured out. But it's great that, we understand that if I can be vulnerable, then I can, give myself an opportunity to not only free myself from stuff that's holding me back, but learn more about who I am and what I need to, do the best that I can in my life,
Yeah,
it's very true.
Does that make sense?
No, definitely. And it's just, and like you say, it's just that thing of starting the conversations, and even from talking to me now and talking to you prior, obviously I've seen you speak as well. That seems to be a big part of what you advocate. It's more just trying to get people to even talk in the first place. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think changes is especially something so deep set, within us as men, and why we find it hard to talk is that we think we're going to be perceived as not having our shit together, is that we're somehow not strong enough, But we are very strong people, men, and we have the ability to give, from our male perspective, so many great stuff. We can contribute to our communities, our business communities, schools, and whatnot. And I think, I always ask myself this, I think, would I want my kids, my own children, to go through their life holding on to things that are causing them pain, whether it's a trauma from when they were young, whatever it may be? Well, the answer is no, and if I want them not to be that way, then I have to actually role model and share with them, how I feel, because, I think it's wrong. Our parents did it to us, and they, or not everyone, but I'm just generalizing, but they shielded us from stuff that was going on. But the best thing they could have done was actually share what was happening, and because we all know we've got this inbuilt, sort of intuition that tells us that something's not quite right, It stinks, it smells a little bit funny. So I think being able to articulate that with our peers, our children, whoever, is such a positive thing, and that does take courage, because what it does is it means that you are going to suddenly expose a little bit of you that no one else has seen before, But all the people that I've talked to and worked with that have been able to share something that has had a major negative impact on their life, all of them, it's been a joyful liberation, to say, oh, thank God I can, tell someone about that. And it's not having all the answers, it's about getting it out. Because once you can see it, then you can say, oh, okay, that's what we need to do. And we can make a plan, or we make a future that works for you, and I think that's very empowering, and if we as individuals can have those harder conversations, both with ourselves, our internal dialogue, but then with someone else, then we are going to, I think, make a massive amount of progress in our communities.
Yeah, definitely. And I think going back on something you just said there, even around talking with immediate family and your kids around this type of thing, and because I guess, like you say, it kind of shows and it teaches them how to deal with it for when they grow up. We've just been through lockdown, obviously. Families have been in a pretty close quarters, and I guess there probably were some stresses that kind of came out from that. What would you say about how to even start a conversation with kids to kind of try and get them involved? Because during lockdown, there were probably lots of families and children that have been exposed to their parents' stress about lockdown or work or business or anything like that. Is there a right and a wrong way to kind of talk to the kids about that?
Oh, look, I think so. I mean, I think, if we say the sky's going to be falling and we're all buggered, that's probably not a good introduction. But, of course, there's the way any language, the way we say something is really important. But what I found with myself is, going through those challenges, we're right. Okay, so contracts, have gone by the way. My work is very difficult, and that's stressful, because we've all got commitments that we need to service. But what I did for myself, and what I would recommend for others in periods like we've been through, or periods that are coming in the future, is it's best if we can really focus on our inner peace. In the Western world, we often look at happiness as like a destination. So we get to the top of that hill and we've got to be happy, and we'll look out and there'll just be happiness everywhere. But we know that doesn't work like that, and we might say, hey, we need to buy a new house, and when we get there, we'll be happy. But that's short term, because we want to get a bigger house or a bigger car or whatever it may be. And so we don't really, focus on the journey, about looking at all the good things that are there. And that can cause stress. But look, stress, I think, in large part is a healthy motivator. It's more about the long-term stress that's the problem, the stress that you're having because of an experience, or, something that you feel very low, you're lonely, or whatever it may be. But I just wanted to go back to the point about that inner peace. So if you look at other countries, more Eastern countries, they have a philosophy philosophy that, if you find your inner peace, what it is that, makes you feel really good, if you find that first, everything after that's a lot easier. So in my own journey, going through some tough, stressful times, what I've learned that was worked really well for me is I realized is that we've got this sort of, I call it the first aid kit. We've got this lots of like fueling stations where you can collect good energy from. So for me, it always starts by setting the tone each day, and I like to practice gratitude. I know that it's a simple thing, but man, it's the best thing of all, because I think success is where you can live your life and not complain about anything, because you've already got an abundance of some good stuff. The reality is, that we may have lost a job, or we may be going through some tough times. And I'm not saying that these are small issues. They're not. They're big things. But, would you want to be losing your job in Mumbai in the slums? Would you like to be losing your job in an overcrowded house in South Auckland where you're living with your extended family and there's a mold covering your walls with one shower, and an unflue gas heater as your main, gas source? We often look at what we haven't got, but when we stop for a moment and think of what we have got, we are very blessed, And I realized going through the bankruptcy for me was the best thing ever, because I realized that I was already successful. I already had strong relationships, I had good health, I had all those sort of things. So for me, the key thing is always set the tone with what you have as opposed to what you haven't got. And there's lots of ways to practice, doing that. But I just try to live it in my life all the time. So we know it's getting busier in New Plymouth with traffic. If you are stuck in traffic, say to yourself, at least I'm not in Auckland traffic. You might have to add another half an hour. There's always ways that we can see that we have a lot more than we've got. And then it's just, things like really basic things like learning how to breathe properly. We're notoriously bad breathers. And, the difference between, often a good and a bad decision could be as simple as 3 deep breaths. If we've had a tough day at work, for example, or we're feeling stressed out at home when we're in lockdown, the best thing we could have done is gone to a room by ourselves and just breathed. Just got back into a nice, calm place, and then from there made that decision, or said that next thing, because it hopefully would have been a lot better than what we would have said if we hadn't have calmed down, So I think in our toolkit, things like, going to nature, being connected with nature is really critical. If you're feeling stressed out, often nature helps put things into context, and gives you perspective, because we're part of something big, and the problems that we have in our head, are actually not as big as everything that's there in the universe, So there's lots of different ways to do it, and we all practice it, but we often practice it sporadically, So we're in a good space, and we're practicing these things, and all of a sudden, things are going well, and we get a bit blasé. And then we get tripped up and we forget, oh, yes, we've got to go back to those things. And that's okay. But I think if we can be proactive, and each day try to do these things, I call them the not negotiables. Try to do those things that that will give you a better result, I know if I go for a run or I go and put my shoes on, do some exercise, I'll feel better,
Yeah.
So that's in my not negotiables, every day I'll put my shoes on, and I might only go for a walk, or I might just, go for 10 minutes somewhere. But I put my shoes on every day. Because I know it's going to make me feel better. It's going to reduce that stress.
So true, and it's easy. It's easy advice too, isn't it? Really.
Yeah.
And it's just stuff that we don't. I guess, sometimes, like you say, that you just kind of take for granted. You don't have that realization of just, the positives that you have. And like you say, that morning routine, I find as well, I don't know about you, Ryan, but I find that can have such a, it can really dictate the day. If I have a day where the first thing you do when you wake up is jump on your phone and do emails or something, you're probably in for a worse day than, like you say, if you jumped up and I don't know, did something with the family, or literally just kind of took a break away from your phone or something like that. Yeah, I'm not too sure if anyone else is the same, but that's kind of how I feel.
Yeah. Yeah, and I thought I actually just was resonating with Paul just mentioning about that sporadic stuff, because I think for me, coming into a business kind of atmosphere after being in education for so long, having to learn how to do that, I was very big on all of the gratitude stuff, and kept even a little journal and was writing down what I wanted to get done in the day. And it's funny how now that I'm busy, that's actually been the first thing that's kind of dropped off the list. And just hearing you speak, really, that should be the thing that remains on the list at all times. Because I'm in an industry, in a business where it's full of roller coaster rides. It's constantly highs to lows, and sometimes multiple times in a day. And taking that time, I think, to reevaluate and have a look at the things that I'm grateful for, which are bountiful, is really, really important. So that's really resonated with me, actually, and appreciate that you've shared that with us today.
That's so.
Look,
yeah. Oh, you carry on, Paul.
Yeah, look. You look at sales. Sales is an absolute roller coaster to ride. But I think for me, I realise that there's always going to be challenges, isn't there? No matter what stage of our lives, our careers we're at, there's always going to be challenges. So, I used to be very fearful of the future, but that was really just my imagination working overtime. I was fearful of that because I don't think I was in the best place, in terms of my own mental health. But once I looked at the fundamentals, of my own health, my family's health, that I was able to, bring money into the household and contribute and all those different things. Once I understood that, and I got that concept of the journey versus the destination, life really, really changed for me, because, all of a sudden those challenges were just part of life, So I accepted them more readily, and I didn't avoid them. And Ryan, how you said, in a day you can have these highs and lows and stuff. Of course, you have to recognise that emotion and go, I'm a bit pissed off or I'm frustrated, and that's good, because you're connecting with your emotions. You're not trying to suppress them, but you've been doing it long enough now that it does in the end work out. And the quicker you can accept the ups and downs of life, it means that you're just going to celebrate and get more out of it, because we're either A, going to avoid things, or B, we're going to live in the past or dwell on the things that we haven't got or that went wrong. And that's just time wasted, absolutely time wasted. And for me, I think it's easy with having children, and everyone's got different motivators, but for me, it's about saying, well, hey, this is the role model I want to be. I want to show my kids that, how you deal with challenging times. Well, you deal with them by firstly, connecting with your own emotions. I think if you're in touch emotionally, with your own self. So what's your head thinking? What's your heart, telling you? And what's your instinct telling you? If you're in connection with those three key areas, then you can really move a lot more quickly, be a lot more flexible, but most importantly, not waste time, thinking about things that aren't going to bring you any joy into your life. And the other thing is like practicing. It's easy when you have a negative thought to invite that in, but that's only a suggestion. You can choose to ignore it or not. For me, what I've done, I worked really hard at saying to myself, every moment's precious. So when those negative thoughts come in, I always stop and I say, hey, look, why are you thinking that way, Paul? Why are you thinking that way? And the reason I say that, it's just like a reset, And then, okay, what's going on? Why you, all of a sudden, why are those negative thoughts trying to come into my mind? And so I'll write it down and go, right, well, the only way I'm going to stop them is just to deal with that thing right now, Because often what we do is we just put them inside, and tuck them away, and we'll worry about them later. But if we don't deal with it, it's like a poison. It can fester, and it'll come out in some way. It'll come out in you feeling a little bit funny, a little sore, or you've been a bit short, and you're talking in a way that's not very nice to your kids or whoever it may be. So it's always going to come out. So I think if you can intercept those negative thoughts quickly and deal with stress and challenges quickly, then you're in a lot better place, to contribute to your own self, but to your your wider and closer community.
Yeah, no, that's such good advice, and I think from my point of view, like honestly, if we're putting our cards on the table, the last few months has been probably the most mentally challenged that I've been for a very long time, having before lockdown losing a large portion of my income, and then essentially having to rebuild, and this is kind of part of that. They're having these conversations as part of that rebuilding, both the family side of things. We had a child pretty much in lockdown, had another baby in lockdown. We trying to build up my business and continue building my wife's business. And there was a lot going on. So I think mentally, it's been very challenging. But even hearing you talk about some of those tips that in hindsight, I could have actually used during that time, and because there's times there where I probably did take some things out on the kids or the wife, for example, especially during lockdown. And there's probably so many ways you can rethink and do things differently and better, I guess. So I guess that's what I'm taking away from even this conversation, is that there is, and it's easy stuff. I think sometimes when you think about mental health, you think about that you're needing to go see a psychiatrist and really get in depth, but there's some real easy things that we can do in our day-to-day life that can probably have a really good impact on both our businesses, our work life and family life as well.
Yeah, and it's so interrelated, isn't it? If you're an employer, if your people are happy and they're mentally in a good space, they feel that they can contribute, they have a voice, those type of positive things, then I don't think we need research, and there is lots of research to tell us that they're going to be more productive, they're going to be more beneficial to the business. It's not rocket science, So in our own lives, if we're running our own business like we all are, how am I going to be in the best position to grow my business or to achieve my goals? Well, the first thing I think is to bring yourself into that place of calm. If you're calm and you have that clarity, it's not easier, but it certainly makes things easier to see. You still need to have obviously the work ethic and the skill set, but I think with goals, what I've worked out as I've got older is, there's two ways of looking at goals. You're either interested in something or you're committed to it, And if you're committed to that goal, then you've got a greater chance of succeeding. And so if you're committed to being calm, if you're committed to looking at all the good things, if you're committed to stopping that negative self, talk, then you're going to see a lot more bright lights than you are dark clouds. I can guarantee that, because I've been through that. I've been on one side and I've been on the other. And for me, when I realised that, of course, I like new things. I like nice things. I like art and I like nice food and I like all those things. But that's not what drives me. Like for me, it's about being. I think success is when I just go through my day and I don't complain about anything, because I know shit's going to happen all the time, whether the government makes a bad decision or whether I lose a contract or whether, my kids are in trouble at school. I've had a fight with my wife. Things are always going to happen, but it does no benefit for me to keep complaining about things. I just got to look for solutions. I've got to look for all the good stuff, and that's my driver. And if I surround myself with light, there ain't going to be much darkness, And part of that light will be greater relationships, will be more rewards financially, will be more opportunities to speak on bigger stages, write books, whatever it is that, I want to do. If I can invite the light and keep that there, my focus staunch on what I want to achieve, then I've got a better chance of doing that, So that's what I always encourage people to do, whether they're business owners or they're students, it's look for the light. We've all got this first aid kit of nature, of exercise, of eating good food, of drinking water, of being calm, of getting rest. Like if you want to have good rest, turn your phone off an hour before you go to bed. Calm your mind down, you'll sleep better. If you're checking that email, at the end of the night, and it comes up and it goes, oh, you haven't done this. You're like, oh shit, So there's all these things that we can do that don't cost any money, and it gives us a good launching pad, if you've got a solid foundation because you're doing these things. It's not going to be easier to build the house you want to, but it is going to be a lot more pleasurable. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Really good advice. It's been really interesting. Like I reckon we could have a conversation. You could keep talking for ages around these different tips and things that you can do. But I think, you know, even some of the things you've discussed here, Ryan, I think you'll agree. You know, they're gold. You know.
Yeah. I'm taking away a lot from this.
You know, when you think that, it's for stuff that easy little things you can do.
I think sometimes we just need that healthy reminder. You know, we're all capable of doing it, but we just need that reminder. You know, and I you know, you don't never want to make something where it's a chore, but if you can instill some of these things, you know, into your life, that it just becomes automatic. I think if you start to see the results and the benefits, you know, so you may, for example, you know, you take those 3 deep breaths and you don't say that thing that you normally, you know, could shoot back with, and you see that all of a sudden, you know, your relationships improve or whatever it is. It's taking those small steps, you know, because often we want that, we want the quick high, we want the quick result, but unfortunately it doesn't quite work like that. So, you know, it's just little things. And look at it like this. You know, I'm a big believer in the A3 piece of paper. Was it A3 is the big one? A3, yeah. And you write down all the things that are going on in your life, just circles. You know, it's got work, it's got relationships, it's got, you know, your hobbies, your health, and just look where your energy's going. And once you identify where your energy's going, then you can say, well, I'm wasting a lot of it there. I'm going to grab some of that energy I'm wasting, and I'm going to start one new thing, you know. And that one new thing is putting my shoes on and going for a walk, whatever it is. I want to see how I feel after that, after a week. You know, don't make it too hard. And you just do little bite-sized chunks like that. So that would be my recommendation in how to sort of reset is write down everything that's going on in your life just on one page. It's all one page. Identify where your energy's going to. Grab a bit of that energy you're wasting and put it into something new that's going to hopefully, you know, bring you a positive result. You know, whether that's yoga or whatever it might be, you know. Hope that helps.
No, yeah, definitely. It's great advice. And look, I for one will certainly be going back through the replay of this and having a re-listen to some of those ideas. And it's even those type of tips. And this is probably going to be a good resource for me personally and anyone else that's watching this video, a good resource to kind of go back and kind of remind yourself, you know, in a month's time when something else happens, you can go, oh, I might just go review that quick video. What did Paul say about it? What we could do about here and things like that. So, yeah, thank you so much for even coming in and joining and talking with us about, you know, about this topic. Because like we said at the start, this is not the easiest topic to talk about, but it's something we should be talking about as business owners, as people in the community and family members. It's something that we should all be doing. So yeah, I really appreciate you coming out and yeah, spending the time and chatting to us about it today.
My pleasure, and thanks for allowing me to speak. It's been fun.
Yeah.
Awesome. No, it's been really good. And look, Ryan, like I say, I'm sure you're the same as me. We've been able to get quite a bit out of today's live stream. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it is. It's a reset button, I think, and I think we sometimes all need to hear that, because I do think that most of us know that we should be doing a lot of these things, and it's just good to have them put back in the forefront again. And yeah, definitely for me, a reset button and time to. I love that little activity just mentioned at the end, and that's something I might give a go with. Where is my energy going?
Yeah, definitely. Oh well, guys, look, this has been really good.
Hey, you know, just grab a little bit, and maybe some people need to grab a lot of it. You know, I think it's nice to challenge yourself, and you know, not everyone's going to act on advice that you give them, but for some people, what I've realized in my own work is in a crowd, when you talk to someone, when people are listening, you know, if you can change the I guess like the tuning on a radio station, if you can tune someone in and send them in a new direction, then that's a great thing. So that's what I like about the tips, is that someone will warm to something more than another, but once you try that, hopefully it'll open up a new way of thinking and take you in a better place,
Yeah.
Nice. Paul, just quickly for the end, for people that are interested in your artwork or to hear you speak or anything like that, is there anywhere that people can go? Do you have any artwork on display at the moment? Obviously, there's Puke Ariki if you want to go see the Mental Warrior Fitness, but is there any other places that we can go to see some of your stuff?
Yeah, so if they want to buy my prints, then you just go to my website, which is paulrangiwahia.com. And I'm also on Facebook, so I do a weekly, I'll write a piece each week. And so it's a nice reflective piece. So those are my two main sources that I deliver my messages through or sell my work. So, yep, they can go check that out.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you so much for coming out and joining us. Yeah, I think that was really valuable. Yeah. Some great tips. I think a lot of people, whether you're a business owner, whether you're an employee, whether you're just anyone in the community, anyone in the family, I think can take some things away from what we discussed today. So, yeah, thank you so much for joining us, Paul and Ryan. Thanks for coming back and joining us again. I think again we've been able to get some great stuff and some great learnings. So I really appreciate everyone's involvement. And yeah, hopefully everyone that's watching this as well has been able to get something out of this. And as Ryan said, even some of those little worksheets and stuff like that you could potentially do to all try and be better humans. And yeah, that's I guess the aim here. So yeah, again, thanks so much, guys, for coming out and joining us. Thanks for watching. And we will see you at another live stream soon. But again, thanks, Paul. Thanks, Ryan. And have a good one.
Will do.
Okay, thanks.